Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Chris Ganley, and I am a current graduate student here at Utica College. And today I will be presenting the strategic design for a fragrance decant marketplace, focused on the fragrance industry shifts in ethical sourcing, marketing, as well as the current e-dominance. So this project kind of delves into a fascinating but a bit overlooked corner of the luxury fragrance market, particularly dealing with the online trade of decants. It's kind of an independent academic endeavor, but it's very insightful to a potential avenue and tons of different new market entrants. Moving on to our introduction portion of this presentation. This project was designed for the company Decantiverse, which is a proposed marketplace to offer an authorized and monitored resolution to some of the current informalities in the fragrance market. So before we go any further, what is a decant? Very basic, a decant is a smaller bottle or smaller sample or vial of a fragrance that is filled, from the full-size bottle and sold to buyers for significantly less than going to purchase the actual fragrance. There's a few different reasons why people would do this. The main reason right now is to save money. Buying a full-size cologne bottle, even if it's one of their smaller sizes, has a pretty high upfront cost. So this allows you to try a lot more fragrances or own a lot more fragrances without that initial upfront cost. This is also good for people who may not have locational access to try some of these fragrances that they want to, if they're more on the luxury side or more on the niche side. There needs to be a place where they have those available for testing, and realistically that's not the case all the time. As well as, just enthusiasts and people looking for fragrances to try without the full commitment of buying a bottle. So our research problem is, how can the informal online luxury fragrance decant market, which currently lacks structure, transparency, and trust, all of which we'll get into a bit more detail in a minute, address its inherent risks while simultaneously capitalizing on untapped opportunities for innovation and revenue. So the current market is a bit informal. Actually, it's very informal. Basically, people are buying decants from informal marketplaces, two popular ones being Facebook Marketplace and Reddit. And there's are some pretty significant risks for the consumer side. There's authenticity concerns. If you've never smelled a fragrance before, how are you going to know that that's really what the fragrance smells like? Other safety issues and unregulated concerns that don't really give the consumer the best mindset or truthfully offer them any protection. But on the other side, it represents a vast untapped market for new innovation and revenue streams that traditional retail isn't currently capturing. But overarchingly, the critical issue here is the notable lack of formal structure, transparency, and honestly some pretty bad trust mechanisms. So moving on to our project scope, what are the services that I provide by completing this project? Well, my project aims to bring clarity into this informal market, and the core service that I'll be providing is in-depth market research and analysis, not just from the descriptive perspective. It's designed to provide some insights into a lot of the unique dynamics, some challenges, and the future potential of this online marketplace. My primary deliverables for this project include this board presentation video, which is a kind of a step to get feedback and guidance. Following that, our working draft, finishing it off with a final draft. Next, we are going to be speaking on the literature review. So I should preface this by saying that not a ton of academic research exists on the fragrance decanting market currently, as it's a pretty new and niche industry. It's still kind of in its trial and error phase. There are some people that are speaking about it, but academic and peer-reviewed papers are little to none in this case. But there is some prior research that is worth mentioning, and it's actually served as a basis for a lot of the decisions that we've made in this proposed marketplace. So in the literature review, I kind of explore what's already known. Prior research extensively covers broader luxury market trends, online consumer behavior, and how trust is built in e-commerce environments. So we have a good general understanding of that landscape. But one of the things here that that I ran into trouble with was academic research in this specific decant marketplace. Like, not really 100% sure how it operates, and why do sellers and buyers and sellers continue to participate in a less regulated space. I believe that this is because there's no other option, but without academic research, I can't say that for certain. And what are some unique challenges that differ from traditional retail? Also something that's not very, well researched yet. So this project is justified because it bridges this gap. By shining a light on this niche industry, we identify consumer needs that are currently not being met by conventional channels. We uncover emergent marketplace dynamics and can potentially learn how to formalize aspects of this trade in a way that benefits consumers as well as brands. So theoretically, this project draws on some established theories already. So concepts like consumer behavior, decision-making under uncertainty, theories of trust formation in online environments, which is crucial right now given the lack of formal guarees in the current decant trading market. And finally, understanding the adoption of new market structures can help us see how an informal market could evolve. For example, perceived risk is a central concept, right? Why do consumers take risks to buy decants, and how can this formal system mitigate those? Also, we'll mention digital sensory marketing is highly relevant, especially dealing with fragrances. Our consumers, as consumers are buying a scent online without the ability to physically experience it first, which has always kind of been something of the fragrance industry, going into a store, testing a fragrance to see if you like it, an olfactory experience. How do we as a marketplace keep that in mind while simultaneously simultaneously appealing to new buyers and sellers? And continued on over here to the next page, our literature review continued. These are just some excerpts from some of the research that was conducted, or literary research that already exists, supporting some of the things that we just talked about. So starting off, perceived enjoyment, price consciousness, and perceived ease of use positively influence online luxury purchase intention. And that was pulled from a source in 2024, so pretty recent. Fake review perception harms trust in rating systems, while quality reviews build it. Trust directly influences customer experience, with the rating system trust mediating fake review impact. This was also pulled from 2024. A little bit older on this next one, but still relevant in the e-commerce world. Odors influence consumer attitudes by evoking memories and providing product information, with both emotion and cognition mediating sense effects. This is tying into that olfactory or digital sensory marketing, where people are going to need to smell or find a way to feel like they smelled they've smelt the fragrance in order to justify making a purchase of it. And lastly, studies on dark patterns and digital nudging largely employ theories of cognitive bias, decision making, social influence, communication, technology adoption to influence users. This dives into a bit more deep with color theory, aesthetic theory, things like being persuaded in ways that you might not even realize that can influence decision making for consumers. Moving on next to our research design methodology. Very basic, how are we going to obtain this data? And to address these questions, I've designed robust mixed methods approach. So combining depth of qualitative research with a width of quantitative analysis is going to give us the best result for this. So for our qualitative phase, I will be conducting in-depth, semi-structured interviews. I'll be collecting data from 3 distinct groups online: active buyers of fragrance decants, to try to understand their motivations and experiences, as well as sellers who operate within these informal online markets, to gain insights into their processes and some of the challenges, as well as people who are generally interested or enthusiasts about the decant market, to kind of get this broader perspective on the market's dynamics and trends. Moving on to the quantitative phase, I'm using a lot of content analysis. So this involves systematically analyzing some publicly available textual data from large online communities like fragrance forums and social media groups where decants are frequently discussed. And it allows me to identify the prevalence of themes, sentiments, and patterns at kind of a larger scale. So the synergy between these two phases is essential. The qualitative insights will provide, good context and explain why behind the trends, while quantitative data will help kind of validate and generalize those insights. So ultimately, an integrated approach will provide more comprehensive data to address our core research problem, which will help us inform strategic recommendations. And lastly, ending here with our discussion of implications, very basically formal and informal. So the mere presence and growth of this informal market proves two things. One, that buyers are willing to try before buy, and two, that there's a current unmet demand. So, the decant market kind of highlights consumer demands for accessibility, variety, and try before you buy options and luxury fragrances, and enhances trust and brand loyalty. So it gives us insights into how trust is built in informal online spaces, and this can inform strategies for official brand platforms, helping mitigate risks like counterfeits and enhancing consumer confidence. And it's innovative for revenue opportunities. So exploring these formalized decant programs, or potentially maybe subscription models or official sampling platforms, can tap into new consumer segments, leading to a much more diversified revenue stream and a stronger market presence. So there are some out of scope features that I feel are necessary to mention. This wasn't targeted directly in my research, but it's still worth bringing up. Some potential investments and returns, So investment, whether it's developing secure brand-backed decant platforms, requires an investment in supply chains, as well as being transparent and authentic with verification technologies. Cost savings, so reduce brand dilution from gray markets, currently what the decant market is operating on. Decrease customer service issues related to fakes or replicas, and more efficient market testing for new products, as well as some new roles. So the potential need for e-commerce specialists, logistics managers for small batch fulfillment, digital trust officers, customer service, things like that. And these are just the references that were mentioned in this presentation. Obviously, a comprehensive list will be provided at the end of the paper.